That's close. No, yeah, he's talking about the game.
Oh. Yeah, I was gonna have it stream and not do it on, but I don't know what to say.
We'll get out of here, it's short.
And the UNC,
Hopefully.
Oklahoma
Yeah,
State
you
game
bet.
on court the other night just doesn't work.
Okay, we'll call to order the regular scheduled meeting for Maumelle Planning Commission. Today, March 23rd, 2023, 6:30 p.m. Appreciate those in attendance. So with the call to order, we have any announcements? Mr. Jason Lyon.
Yes, we just had three filed replats. Lot 10RR, Villages at New Bedford, was a lot split from 1 to 2 lots. And then we had 2 more lots in 24B that were taken in some common space that we had seen these, about 5 or 6 others previously. Nothing major, just Tommy Wright giving away property to the property owners to allow fences. So, and that's it.
Very good, very good. Approval of the minutes for February 23rd, 2023. All commissioners should have copies in their packets and upon review. Do I have any comments or changes?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you very much. First and a second. All those in approval for the February 23rd, 2023 minutes in the affirmative say yes.
Yes.
Those in the negative say no. Very good. I do not see any comment cards on public for public comments on non-agenda items, so we will open the public hearing. The first item for old business is the Hallher subdivision. I don't know if we're yet pronouncing that correctly, but after the third time around. So I've heard we have some news on this particular item. Mr. Lyon?
Nothing new on the staff side. I'll let Mr. Andrews discuss it.
Go ahead, Roy.
Roy Andrews, 3 Monarch Drive. We're going to withdraw this submittal altogether.
Okay.
All together?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that you're acting on behalf of the applicant for Hallher subdivision to withdraw the submission.
Yes. Yes.
good.
If they wish to come back, we know it's a new submission, new fees, new advertisements.
Understood. Very good. Seeing there be no further old business, we'll enter into new business for the First Service Bank site plan review. Mr. Lyon.
Before we get into any staff comments I'll let Mr. Andrews pass on some new information first.
Go ahead, Roy.
To give us and staff and the client more time to work through some of the comments and items, we would ask for a deferral to the April meeting.
Very good.
So moved.
Second. Very good. Here in the first and second, placing deferral for the First Service Bank site plan review for the next regular scheduled Maumelle Planning Commission meeting. All those in the affirmative say yes.
Yes.
All those in the negative say no. Motion passes. So we'd like to open the Board of Zoning adjustment for the Chick-fil-A canopy variance. Proposed variance request for minimum parking requirements and request for encroachment into the building setback for an accessory structure. Mr. Lyon.
So just before we let the applicant talk, basically the first one is for 94605. It's to allow a reduction in parking spaces from the minimum required 54 to 51. I will note in this case, because Chick-fil-A has a patio area that did require, I believe it was about 7 more spaces than what would have been required if they did not have the patio sitting area. So in this case, also with the canopy, they are losing 6 spots, but they found 3. So this is why there's only just a net loss of 3 spaces, but it does put them under our minimum parking requirement for Chick-fil-A. I can discuss 908401 next if you'd like, or would you rather go forward with 94605 first?
Well, 94605 is our first request, so we'll take them in that order. I think each of them have to be heard separately anyway.
Very good. Staff has looked at it, and we have no issues with the reduction in parking spaces variance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Hear from applicant, if you have something to say.
Yeah, hi. My name is Frank Gadoon. I work with Essentia Architecture, and we are Chick-fil-A's architect of record on this project.
Welcome.
So, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman and honorable members, we're here requesting the variance for the parking due to a canopy that we're planning to install for this store to help mitigate traffic issues and provide employee safety and better working environment. And when we do install that canopy, if we're allowed to do so, it's gonna require that we, lose those 6 spaces just because, the size of the canopy and the orientation of where it has to go with, regards of an underground retention system that's already in place that cannot be moved, as well as I guess there's a concrete culvert underneath the site that channels water from a creek on a consistent basis. So we're really strapped to where we can put this canopy, and for that reason, we're losing those 3 spaces.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner comments, questions? Okay. Mr. Gill?
The 3 spaces that were picked up after the ones were lost, where are those on this drawing?
Well, what it really amounts to was that when this plan was previously approved, it was approved with 54 parking spaces. And we lost, you were really only required at that time, I think you were required 47 spaces. And so when they added the parking for the area where the trellis is for the outdoor, or I'm sorry, not the trellis, but where the outdoor dining is, that's when it increased to 54 spaces. So really, we're losing the 6 that were an overage, and of those 6, you're really only losing 3 spaces required. So that's how that came about.
So we're losing a net 6.
You're losing a net 6 on the property, but you're only losing 3 spaces from the required parking requirement,
okay.
from what I understand.
Is that right?
That's correct, Stan.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hear a motion, or will entertain a motion on the floor, please put it in an affirmative.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the variance for section 94-605, reducing the minimum parking requirements.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, we will entertain a vote for the variance request on section 94-605 for the minimum parking requirement. All those for in the favor of the variance request say yes.
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 All those opposed to the variance request say no. Motion carries. For item number 2, for the variance request on section 90-84 for the setback requirement. Mr. Lyon.
All right, first off, I had a request from the big boss. Everybody make sure you turn your microphones on when you speak, please, just for the recording. Sorry. That just came through as a text. All right, so the next variance is for section 90-84-1. This is actually it's in our vegetation section of the ordinance. Along Maumelle Boulevard, there was originally it was a non-clearing 50-foot area. Now, if you know this area on the west side of Maumelle Boulevard, there is between Odom and Edgewood, or Millwood, excuse me, there is all the vegetation in that 50-foot area has been cleared. What they are requesting here is then to allow encroachment into this existing 50-foot setback that was set by 90-84-1 by roughly 20 feet. I believe the canopy goes in about 19 and a half feet roughly.
19 feet.
So that would still leave 30 feet of space between the canopy and the property line, which is already landscaped, and it was originally going to be used as a detention area. Due to the underground culverts and the nature of where they were forced to place the building, staff does not see any issues in particular with this variance request.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Comments, questions from commissioners? Anything else from the applicant?
Yeah, if you don't mind popping up the site plan on the
Sure.
television, then can I walk over and kind of point you guys through what's going on? Okay. So really, we're here because of 2 reasons. Okay. Number one, all across America, Chick-fil-A is experiencing the same problem where their restaurants are extremely popular, and the parking that comes in, the parking lot gets filled up, and then you also have a lot of traffic during peak hours of operation. Those peak hours of operation are roughly from about 7:30 in the morning till 9:30, and then real heavy from 11 to about 2, and then it picks up again around 4:30 to 6:30. And so what you're finding at this particular site, which has Chick-fil-A corporate extremely concerned about, is that the traffic, you allow me to walk over there, is that
Sure,
okay?
you may.
You just need to speak up.
Okay, but what happens is now that the traffic starts backing out onto Commons Drive. And in a lot of our other locations, we really don't, Chick-fil-A doesn't like having that situation. The situation creates other uses not being able to have access to by their customers. And also, this is a safety issue. If you got a car stopped on a street side or whatever, it's real easy for somebody to rear end, especially with a kid in a child care seat or whatever in the car. So the answer to that problem has been coming up with these, creating these canopies that we're doing at these Chick-fil-A sites. So what you guys are all looking at is a pre-2018 design concept for Chick-fil-A, which is no different than any other restaurant that you've ever seen. You've got your typical building located where it is. You've got a drive-through encircling the building, and then you have typical parking and so forth that meets all your zoning requirements. No one, even at Chick-fil-A, everybody dreams of this, having this problem, but they're so popular that now you've got just a ton of people coming at these sites. So, as we said, the answer to that is creating these canopies. So this is known as the face-to-face canopy, all right? And what happens here is you have about 6 team members equipped with a smart tablet technology. So Chick-fil-A went through all their stores all across America and adapted this type of technology for their use. And the kids come to your car immediately, 6 of them at a time, and they take your order and they take your money if you have it, with a credit card or debit and so forth. And then that gets processed in the kitchen. So that by the time these cars all come through around here, this bigger canopy that you allowed us to install a few years ago, we have 3 team members working there as well. And what they do, now that everything's paid for, they just pass the food out. So even if you have a car here that maybe is waiting for an order, a little bit larger order for a minute longer, and you've got these cars back here backed up, and their orders are ready, they get their orders. And then as soon as this first car leaves, they all leave quick. So this has been a really good workable plan for them because we've seen it working. In Arizona, there's a store about 5 miles down the road from us, and before we had the canopies installed, the city of Chandler was begging for a solution, and that was a situation where the traffic was actually backing out all across the shopping center, wouldn't allow users for Coffee Bean or any of the other users that were there, and as well wouldn't allow people to even take a left or a right into that shopping center off of the main highway. So it was creating even a bigger backup in there. And now since that time, and Chick-fil-A installed the 2 canopy system that we're proposing here, they're running about 47 cars every 15 minutes. So we were there, we saw it. I was the 47th car. We had 4 different orders in our car, and it sailed right through within 15 minutes. So when you do the math, that's about 180 cars in an hour. So it really works, and it provides traffic safety relief and so forth. And then most of all, more importantly, the use of these canopies allow the team members to work out there for a longer shift. So when we see them working out there for a longer shift, they're protected from the rain, from the sun, and all the conditions that you have out here, especially with the sweltering heat and so forth. So to do that, we have heaters that are mounted underneath the deck. If you look at the rendering that we provided for you, we show the heaters in there. And then we also have fans for the sweltering heat when you guys get into your summer months where your humidity is 90% and your temperature's the same. It's not a lot of fun working out there. So that's the main justification for trying to have these canopies. So to make this work in this particular project site, we have an underground retention system that's been in place for since the store was built, and there's really no way around to get our normal canopy that wouldn't even be beyond your building setback line that we normally install. And because of the soil conditions that you have there and the combination of this channel underneath there and all those other features on the site that we can't deal with, we're asking for leniency on the setback.
Very good, thank you. I think Commissioner, the new remodeled over there at Home Depot on, what is that, Markham and Financial Center Parkway, which I think they're running 3 wide on that one in particular would be, I think, a similar application. as well as others. So, regarding the mayor. Yes, sir, Mr. Gill?
Yes, Chairman, I have one question, and I appreciate you coming out and sharing all this with us. But the canopy that we're talking about, whether it slides east and west, or actually be north and south on the drawing, obviously you can't go over that culvert, but the distance that it's going into the setback, the drive up is basically the same as it is right now, right? Just that it's gonna be covered.
Correct, but the issue that you have, if you wanna pull that site plan up there for me again, and you'll see it with the faint lines, is you've got this big retention basin that starts here and comes all the way out to here, okay? And I can't take a set of columns and put it inside that retention basin, because it won't hold the canopy. So for that reason, we have to straddle this canopy clear across from this area to here, which is gonna extend us 19 feet over that building setback line to be able to put this in place.
Commissioner, this will be a better view for you. You can kind of see what it looks like as far as compared to the Sonic and also to the Walgreens. Obviously see their drive, so the canopy's going, what, basically about a foot and a half past the current drive, maybe?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
So this kind of give you a good aerial view.
All right. Mike, I guess where I was going was, my question was, or my thinking was that there would have been a column in the middle. But what I think I just heard you say, there is no
No.
column because of the underground retention pond.
No, and if you could pop up the slide that has the cross sections in here, I can probably
Hey.
explain that
Yeah,
even a little bit more better.
it's also shallow.
Yeah.
Put it shallow in that
So,
foundation and everything.
This is lengthwise in the drive-through, this bottom view right here, and so these piers are way back beyond, okay? And you can see that we have to cut into the slab and pour a whole new slab in here to tie these columns in to the new slab. And we need to do that because of the way this sits on top of this surface in here. Right here, this is the size of your pipe, it's a half pipe. And then what happens is they fill that all with pea gravel so that the water can dissipate in there. And then it's a sand fill on top of here, and we gotta come back and cut that in there. And the reason we need to cut that slab in there is because we're gonna use we're not continuous, but we're gonna use hairpins to solidify that structure so it's not leaning this way or that way or coming down. So those hairpins have to be tied into a continuous piece of slab that goes all the way across. This other view that you're looking at is, cutting it the short distance. So you can see that you've got all these half pipes, and my drive-through lane would probably be somewhere in there, and I can't put a column in there because of the situation here. And we've spent about 3 years on this project, believe it or not, and we tried using a grade beam with helical piers, where we could get the helical pier through the middle of that drive-through, and they're telling us no, because of the soil is so wet underneath here. Now, the farther we go away, the better off we are with these big giant caisson footings. And these are gonna be anywhere from 8 to maybe 16 feet deep by the time we drill those out and fill them in. So this is a big undertaking, what we're doing here. But we feel that in the long run, at least Chick-fil-A, and we agree with them, that this is gonna help your traffic situation that you have going out there on Commons Drive, and probably more importantly, protect these kids that are out there working all this day, all these days.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else from the applicant?
No, sir.
Good. Commissioners, questions? Very good. I'd entertain a motion in the affirmative for the variance request for section 90-84 for the setback requirement Chick-fil-A canopy variance.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the variance request for section 90-84-1 setback requirement.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Very good. Hearing a first and a second, we'll now take a vote for the variance request for section 90-84 for the setback requirement for the Chick-fil-A canopy variance. All those wishing in the affirmative, please say yes.
Yes.
Although voting in the negative, say no. Motion carries for the approval of the variance request section 90-84 setback requirement. Thank you for attending, appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you very much. This has been a 3-year ordeal for us, and we really appreciate you
We just want to
supporting
see,
us.
we want to see Carter out there in a hard hat, and some boots, and then, you know, maybe directing the concrete truck back to put in the case on it.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen. Thank you again.
Very good, very good. So, we'll close the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and, in the packet was the same information that was presented by Mr. Lyon, and I wanted to make sure that this got back in for, the discussion regarding, primarily public notification, although maybe a few, sidebars that end up discussing with that. I wanted to go ahead and get that out for the public to see that we are discussing it in subcommittee. If there's any interest, somebody can come in the next 2 weeks at our next session sharing that. Ms. Winnick, one thing that we forgot to say, Mr. Line, is that we did receive a resignation notice via email from Ms. Pat Landis a couple of weeks ago. I did bring that, but she notified us via email that due to personal circumstances, she was resigning her position, so I'm sure the city will be putting forth a notice to replace that vacancy. So with that, Ms. Winnick provided me, and we're not going to discuss this, some additional information tonight, and I will, she said that she would be kind enough to forward this to me, and I'll forward it on to staff as well too for a further discussion for our subcommittee meeting as we continue to discuss the public notification process for PUDs and CUPs and variances and everything else that goes along with that public notification.
So we'll make a copy of this that's been presented by Vice Chair, and also we have one public comment that we'll also submit into record for the next subcommittee meeting, and then at that point, you know, we have a code amendment update ready to go whenever the Planning Commission decides they are ready to move forward or recommend changes.
Okay, we'll close public hearing. Should have done that ahead of that comment. Then we have City Council liaison reports, which are next for the March 6, 2023 meeting. Commissioner Fisher.
All right, the March 6th meeting that I attended, the only thing that pertained to the Planning Commission was we had the third reading of ordinance 1085, 1086, 1087, which was 1085 was the annexation of the Ascent Development property. 1086 was amendment to the land use plan for the same property, and 1087 was the zoning. Other than that, that was it.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. For March 20th, 2023, Vice Chair Winnick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. No agenda items pertinent to Planning Commission ordinances or approvals. There was the announcement that Commissioner Landis had resigned and that they will move forward with, posting or the application process.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Winnick. Next month, City Council liaison for April 3, 2023 is Commissioner Gill, and then for April 17th, 2023 is Commissioner Ramsey. Hearing no further items or agenda and discussion this evening, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Hear a
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion